Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Rawson Sniper. Two surf expos ago, so just a little over a year ago, we were in Florida, and we were having what we ended up nicknaming the Legends Lunch. We actually, Tommy and I got to sit down with Pat Rawson and Maurice Cole, and just, I'll tell you, some of the stuff that went down at the table, just listening to those guys talk between the two of them and brainstorming on new ideas and kind of new breakthroughs was just incredible. But one of the things that we talked about, Pat's like, hey, what are you guys looking for in boards? What do you think the next step is we should take on boards? And, we had a lot of, the Rawson Impala was really popular here, still is really great board, a good full volumed hybrid board. Another one of Pat's boards that has a huge following worldwide in both in the traveling circuit and then also in the pro circuit is called the HC Plus, the Hyper Classic Plus, and that's Pat's really good wave board, typically a rounded pin, but it's a short board, it's not a hybrid at all. And at that Legends Lunch, we said, what if you took the accessibility of the Impala and the ease and just the fun and range, just, no nonsense, just a straight up fun board to surf, and you crossed it with the better wave performance of the HC Plus. And that's what we said, hey, think about this. Let's start sketching some stuff up, and let's see what we come up with. The Sniper is that's basically where the concept of the Sniper was born. About a year later, we ended up on the North Shore of Hawaii with a trip with Quicksilver, and rather than bringing boards to Hawaii, which is like bringing sand to the beach, we called up Pat and said, hey, let's try these Snipers out. Let's actually make a quiver of Snipers, like a full range of them, and just have them ready when we get there. So landed there, had a full setup of boards, just the three of us. It was myself, Matt, and Tommy. And between the three of us, there was about 3 hours of North Shore experience. So we're coming from having traveled a lot of different places in the world, but actually never to the North Shore of Oahu. So to say the least, a little bit intimidated by the legend and just the whole aura of what was going on over there. But having been to some other good wave places, we'd had good waves, just not on the North Shore. With this board, the target of this board was to have a board that had the ease of the Impala, but was a more performance version of the Impala. And this year we really like breaking down what performance means. So when we say that, have something that is a little bit narrower in the nose, a little bit more foiled out through the nose, a little bit more rocker up front, a little bit narrower in the width, so the board's going to go rail to rail faster, and then also have the rail volume foiled out of the board. The Impala, the standard Impala, or the Impala SS has a very flat deck and then a very, very full rail, where the Sniper has a flat deck and then it really foils out in the rail. You can see there's a lot of volume in this board from here all the way to about here, and then once you get to the back end of the board, you can see it really starts to foil out real thin through the back of the board. And then it's got that signature Rawson rounded pin. And that's what we're looking for. If you think about the Impala or if you think about the HC Plus, they both have the legendary Rawson rocker, and then they both have this same pintail on it, this rounded pin. And it just screams high-speed confidence and the ability to really push the board and charge when the conditions are there. So what this board does, if you've ever ridden either one of those boards, is it takes that easy paddling of the Impala and steps it into better waves. Not necessarily just a step up, but a board that you could ride in decent waves and above and have a really confident, easy to surf board, easy to paddle board, whether it be paddling like a long ways out to a reef or paddling long distances after a long ride back. This, compared to a standard board without this volume forward and without what's in this board, it's just an easier board to paddle, an easier board to catch waves on. The drive of the board off of the bottom is super fast. Having this wider outline forward, like you can see that a lot of the width is pushed forward in the board, just gives you a lot of drive when you're surfing the board on the rail. And then pulling it back into that moderate width tail, and then having that tail not only come down in width but also come down in thickness is a big deal. Because if you look at a lot of these boards, like the board that I'm holding right now is a 6'8", and it's about 6'8" by 20 3/4. This board is typically, when you have a board like this, it's going to be pretty thick, and then it's going to be really thick all the way through the back of the board. It's going to make the board real kind of floaty and bouncy when you're trying to surf it at high speeds. By pulling all the volume just out of the rails, it gives you a board that paddles really well, but can still sink into a turn and have a confident rail in the water at speed. So the end of the story is that we end up surfing these boards all over Hawaii, the first generation of them, and small surf, or what they call small surf, which is scary surf anywhere else, and then also some really good sized surf there, to the point where the North Shore is all closing out. We have to go over to the west side, surf over there, and get to surf the board in a really wide range of conditions. The first round of the boards is actually really good. Make some tweaks with Pat to that, and then also he has a lot of his local surfers who end up getting the boards and surfing them all over. They're surfing them like up to 6 foot backdoor, all over Velzy land, all up and down the North Shore of Oahu, and giving their input into it. And then that's basically what you're seeing here is the end result of all of the different surfers surfing it, different breaks, not only there, but then also bringing it back here, wanting to know how does it work like in an East Coast beach break. A lot of the things that Pat does is so far to the next level. Pat was using volume in surfboards like before people even knew what volume was. A lot of his bottom contours are so subtle that you actually have to have him explain them to you. It's not like a dramatically huge concave or huge V. Everything is just blended so smoothly that unless he sends you an email or a text message or tells you exactly what's going on, it's almost like you can't even decrypt it. Even as far as tuning the boards for the fins that you want to use on it, this is actually something that I think is pretty special that Pat does. He'll write on the stringer, like for this board it says tuned for the AM2, which is the larger Merrick tri-fin set. So if you're using tri-fins, you're going to use it with AM2s, and if you're going to use it as a quad, you want to run 3.75 rears. And so with the tail being narrower, you want to size down those rears. If you put really big rears on it, it's to be too lifty and too stiff. So taking the time to like note that on the stringer and at least put you in the right direction. We rode it with a bunch of different fins. I rode this same board with the Mayhem 5-fin set. It worked with that. Tommy and Matt were using obviously smaller fins, medium fins on their smaller snipers. But knowing if you're coming into a board blind with no fins, having the fins spec'd out I think is really helpful as well. So get you going in the right direction. How does this board fit, into somebody's quiver or into, surf market in general is I think it's really unique in that it follows in that Impala lineup of boards, or that direction of boards, by having that width forward, but having, a faster rail-to-rail feel, definitely a way more crisp turn or pivotal turn off the top when you want to do that, but taking the volume out of the rails, narrowing it up, pulling some area out of the tail. So when you get it really going, it just sits out in the water is a little bit more neutral. And when you want to ride it in bigger waves, the board still performs really well. The Impala would definitely hit a wall, and you're noticing like, hey, I'm on way too flat and thick railed of a board. This board doesn't have the top end. It just breaks right through that and just keeps going. The other thing is that you have, whether you're looking at a 6.0 or a 7.2, you have those same attributes, but the board doesn't get overly bulky. A lot of times if you look at like a really good 6.0 or 6.2 or 6.4, they look incredibly good, or even a 6.6. But then when you get up to the 6.8 or 7.0 or 7.2, they start to get super thick, and just something looks like it wasn't thought about, like when you got to the bigger sizes. And looking at the foil on this board, it's a great looking board. And scale wise, with me being on the bigger side, this board works really good. And you're like, oh yeah, that works great, but I bet you the 7.2 is a hog. But when you go to something even as big as a 7.2, it's still foiled. But this board, it's a 7.2, and it's 21 1/4 by 3 inches thick, and I think it is 40 47.8, so it's just shy of 48 liters. But if you look at the board, there's not bulk anywhere on the board. And you look at the tail, and the tail is, the tail is just really, really foiled down. And what that does is it's going to give you the paddle power for a bigger surfer or in bigger waves. I mean, this board you could take into some serious surf, but it's not going to be bulky. A lot of those bigger boards, and I'll tell you from experience because I get a lot of bigger boards, they just, when you get into the bigger sizes, they get bulked out really quick. So this board gives you the advantages like of the width right here and of 3 inches of thickness on the stringer line or for most of the deck of the board, but then it really pulls the rail down, and then in the tail, like we just showed you, it really dramatically foils out what's going on in the back of the board. The other thing, rocker wise, we talked about, this board has a little bit more rocker, especially in the very ends of the board compared to a standard poly. You can see there, and then also in the tail rocker. Specifically talking about the fins, in Hawaii, I was riding mine both as a thruster and a quad. Tommy and Matt spent the majority of their times on thrusters on their boards, and what we noticed, it definitely works well both ways. You definitely can oversize the quads by accident if you don't have a direction to go with. Like if that stuff wasn't written on the stringer, you'd be oversizing the quads all the time. But the thruster has a little bit more drive off the bottom of the wave, and it also off the top of the wave a little bit more of a hook. The quad on this board, I thought, dramatically loosened the board up. So if there is open face surfing and you want to be at different parts of the wave, the quad's going to really loosen the board up. And then I also found, back home here, where 6'8" would normally be a big board for here, it's actually pretty loose and fun in very average surf. Like right now we're in the middle of the winter, so we have 4 and 5 mil wetsuits and hoods, boots, and gloves, which adds like another 15 pounds and just makes you feel a little bit bulky. So the bigger board's definitely a little bit more fun to surf on a daily basis than something that you're going to be sinking up to your neck on. And riding that board in pretty average waves, the quad really loosens the board up, especially if it's mushy and there's not a lot of power to it. Thruster feels great when it's going. So great board, the Rawson Sniper, and I think pretty unique. Again, just the ability to scale the board from 6.0 all the way to 7.2 and have it be a good board is pretty rare. Rawson Sniper, if you have any other questions, check out the written review right below this video at realwatersports.com/surfing or give us a call at the shop. Thanks for watching.